So you want to learn how to edit dark and moody. We can take you there. Let's go. Okay guys, so today we're going to be talking about exposure and how crucial it is to have an appropriately exposed image for dark and moody editing. So let me just kind of show you. This is going to be an overexposed, and even Lightroom is like, whoa, but an overexposed image in Lightroom. Do you see that the detail of her face is immediately lost because of the sun directly hitting her skin? So that, obviously we don't want that. And then an underexposed image, while in RAW you can most likely recover this, it's still making more work for you. So we want to make sure that the image is exposed appropriately. That's going to be the most important thing. And for that you want to ensure that if it's, my equation is if it's waist up you have one highlight point. If it's a total body you usually want 3. So especially for Boudoir, I usually like the face, chest, and leg. But for this one, being that she has a shirt on, the focus point is obviously going to be on her face. And so we want to make sure that that still, while highlighted, remains to have detail. So this is already really pretty, but it's still pretty bright for my taste. So we're just going to bring that down. And actually, before I do this, I'm just going to put our Boudoir preset on and show you how I would edit it with that. So this is going to look a little scary, but I'm going to bring this exposure up. And like I said, that detail is just instantly lost in her face. So I want to bring down the highlights. You're going to see that that instantly changes the detail coming back in her face, which is everything you'd want and more. So now you're going to see that for me this is a little warm yet. But do you notice that it immediately takes it away from her face, and we do not want that. So let's go ahead and put that back. It's about to where it was. But it's still a little pink. So we'll go back to the temp, but for right now we'll deal with the pink hues that are in this image. And if you could kind of see that, I'll re-show you. So this is kind of where it was at before. You see some of the pink in her face and in the couch. We're gonna bring that down as well. That's a little too green, but about 8 or 9 is my sweet spot. I usually like to hit 8. So we'll go back to the temp. Again, I want to keep the warmth in her skin, but in the area around her, my couch is not that warm. So I really want to decrease the temperature in that. So I'm going to start at about a 10, well, we'll try 13. And we can always move it from there. So we'll just start brushing on the couch. And you can see how it's completely taking away that extra warmth from the couch, but no other part of the image. And then at that point, once you have it adjusted, you can always go back to the slider bar and determine where you feel it looks best for you. But I personally like it to be on the cooler side, so about 15 here. If I can get it there, there we go. And that looks really good. So now we are going, I want to do the brush again, but so if you keep using that brush and change it, it's going to change the exposure. So you want to close out of the brush and then get a new brush. You're going to see that there's your old one and here's a new one. Then I'm going to make that a little bit bigger and I'm going to do exposure. I'm going to bring that down. And if you were to just take the initial exposure slider, it would change the entire image. The cool thing about the brush is that you can select which part of the image you are darkening just by brushing over that area. So do you see how that already made her more of the center of attention in this image? So again, her face is still, the more I darken the image to my moody feel, I still feel like her face is a little bright, so we're gonna bring that down again. Already that feels so much better. And I want her to be highlighted a hair more, so I'm gonna take that same exposure brush but we closed it out so we can do another new one. We're gonna bring that up. And we're just gonna lighten her up a bit. I did too much over here. But I do want it, we're gonna go back to A, still the erase, but I do want it here. Oh no! I always get too eager. With the brush. Okay. So that looks really good. Now, if you ever wanted to do the same, you can do the same thing with exposure, and I'll just kind of show you how. If you want to bring this exposure down on her face, or even like if you want to highlight a certain side of her face, you can always do this too. But that's obviously not something I'd want to do here. And that looks really good. So I think the only other thing I'm going to do with this image is show you clarity. Now I love the clarity tool because it's almost like a contour to a photo. I can add just a little bit of extra detail to make an image pop. So in this couch, it's got these beautiful lines, the leather lines here. I'm just gonna bring that up a little bit, and then I'm gonna bring the exposure down, bring that clarity up. You can see more detail in the couch just from that alone. And that looks really good. Now my preset does have grain in it, so I'm gonna remove that because right now I'm in a grain-free phase. And that looks really good. Now the only thing I would probably do is I would do some eye work, I would do some minimal skin retouching, and that would be about it. Otherwise it looks really good. There is a little bit of blue haze in her eye, but again, you can go ahead and just take the temp tool and just remove that by simply brushing it over and removing it. See how easy that is? The brush tool is so nice, and it's such an underestimated part of Lightroom, but I really try to push people to utilize it because it is so convenient. So convenient. So yeah, so that is how I would expose my images. That is how I would adjust them. If they are overexposed, just bring down the exposure, bring down the highlights so you can bring back the texture in their skin. It is so important to have an appropriately exposed image, especially for dark and moody, having those shadows, having those highlights, having a good balance of the two as well. So I hope this was helpful for you, and I am so excited to see you in the next episode.